If I didn't live in Third Ward,
we got a place for you. We got a place for you.
I mean, Fifth Ward has a special place in my heart, and I think you have such a rich opportunity in Fifth Ward. And so when I started doing this work, and when I talked to the mayor, and I talked to your city council member, and I talk to other people, I always say what we're doing in Third Ward is trying to create a blueprint or a template for how communities of color can really revitalize, preserve, and protect their neighborhoods. And so this is really a conversation about using economic development strategies with an intention to halting gentrification. So we got started because of what's happening in Third Ward, which had already happened in Freedmanstown. And so we think that there's a crisis in communities of color across the country. And Houston is definitely experiencing this, and Third Ward is in the midst of a fight to preserve itself, to protect itself. And I say this, and I've said this before, African Americans are really in a critical point of almost being community-less across the country because of this issue of gentrification. And so it's something that you have to be thinking about in the long run. And I know you guys see the move of development coming your way. And so being able to, create the chamber, and I think you have the building blocks of a really great strategy to really make sure that Fifth Ward is preserved as a historic African American community. And so I work with a group called the Emancipation Economic Development Council. We got started some 3 years ago in 2015, and we got started because of this. So what you see here is Emancipation Park. That is the revitalized Emancipation Park. $33 million went into that park. But what you see is the line and the march of townhouses coming into the historic Third Ward, and they're continuing to come into the historic Third Ward. But when $33 million went into that park, we felt like there was an opportunity. Today, there was an article in the Houston Chronicle around the EEDC, and it's been the recipient of a $500,000 grant from the Kinder Foundation, and we leveraged the Kinder Foundation and the Houston Endowment's money into that park to say, if you care about Third Ward and you care about this park, then you have to invest more than just in this physical green space. Because $33 million signaled to the development community something very important. And so this is just to show you what was happening in the neighborhood at the time. As you can see, really a flat line with single family homes, but an increase in terms of townhomes. And so the price of townhomes, or the price of housing, was being inflated by the construction of townhomes in our neighborhood, with a low level of middle home construction happening for single families, right? So moderate and low income residents have virtually been priced out of Third Ward at this time, and because of the influx of townhomes. And this is a tricky thing, because as businesses and as people who are, looking for opportunities, we see new people with higher incomes coming into a neighborhood, and we see the new people coming to the neighborhood, and oftentimes we think that's a benefit. And it can be for a temporary time period, but over the long time period, it can be very detrimental, particularly to businesses. And we talk a lot about gentrification in terms of residents, but the hardest piece is really affordable commercial properties for business owners. So when the price goes up of land, it goes up for everybody. Not just the homeowner or the renter, but it also goes up for the entrepreneur, and being able to come into the business market as an entrepreneur when the prices of housing are going up so dramatically. And so for us, when that park came online, there were townhouses going for over $500,000. That was just extraordinary, right? In just a small period of time, you go from houses going at under $300,000 to doubling in just a small period of time. And what the development community and the real estate community was saying, new park, new investment, this is get in now, this is your opportunity. And so we wanted to say, get in now, this is your opportunity. And that get in now was get in now to the community. And so we're very clear. When we think about the work that we do, we ask ourselves, well, what historically has been the problem? Well, or there's been underinvestment in our neighborhood, right? And so we have not been able to keep pace. So when people say, well, what's wrong? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? We say, well, the city, we say the banks. We have been virtually an unbanked neighborhood. So when you're trying to get a small business loan, we have been an unbanked neighborhood, right? When you're trying to get a mortgage, we've been an unbanked neighborhood. And then land speculation. People talk about the number of abandoned lots, how bad the neighborhood looks, but people don't understand that those are people that are holding that land, waiting for the price to go up. And they don't mow the lawns, they don't take care of the property because they're speculating. And then ongoing demolitions, right? The demolitions, purchasing property, demolishing it, and just waiting. And then the rapid new market development. And it's not that we have a problem with new market rate development. It's just that the affordable housing is not keeping pace, right? And so modest income homes are not keeping pace. And so it's an imbalance. And then, of course, is the displacement of long-term residents. And this is a really important point to me because I like to tell people this. You know, the people who I represent in Third Ward are the people who have been here and who was here when everybody else left. I just want to be clear about this, right? We were here when nobody thought it was a nice neighborhood. We were here when it wasn't a popular place to be. We were here when nobody cared about Third Ward or Fifth Ward or Sunnyside. Let's just go on and on and on. And so I think it is tragic that when opportunities come and a new park comes in, that the very people who hung on the longest cannot benefit from that prosperity. I think that is an injustice. And that's the way I think about it and talk about it. And so what we decided, very similar to this work, was that we needed something that focused on economics in our neighborhood, right? And so we, similar to the chamber, we didn't call ourselves a chamber, but we wanted to assemble the stakeholders and really the key players in our neighborhood. And we had tried to do this before, and this is an interesting thing, you know, in neighborhoods. People oftentimes are not motivated until there's a threat. Right? And so until they saw that part, then people understood that we had to get serious and we had to really work together. And so our job was to revitalize and preserve our neighborhood. And from the very beginning, we said we were preserving an African American community. We didn't have any qualms about that. We didn't think we had to say, we had to, and there's another gentleman that's in our group and he says, no one ever complains about people saying they're going to Chinatown. Nobody complains about a community that is using its culture and its history as an asset. And so we wanted to say, this: we are proud to be an African American community, and we invite in people to our community, but we invite them into an African American community, historically and in demographics, and we want them to celebrate that. So that